You are the director of the FBI. Give me a guess. How many convictions in the last 1 year, 5 year, or 10 years? Ballpark.
I don't have that with me, sir.
The director of the FBI just told a United States congressman he doesn't have that number. Not that it's classified, not that it's sensitive, he simply doesn't have it. And that answer, that single exchange, is the key to understanding everything that happened in this hearing, because the number matters, and the fact that Patel didn't know it matters even more. Let me show you exactly how this unfolded. The hearing was a standard intelligence oversight session. Kash Patel and Director Gabbard were seated across from the committee. The agenda covered national security priorities, foreign interference threats, election integrity. The kind of hearing that runs on procedure and careful language. The kind where officials arrive prepared to answer broadly and commit to nothing specifically. Jim Himes had a different plan. Himes is the ranking member on the House Intelligence Committee. He has been in that room long enough to know exactly how officials avoid answering questions. He knows the pivot, he knows the redirect, he knows the, "I'll have to get back to the committee on that." And he had come to this particular hearing with a very specific line of attack, one that didn't require classified information, didn't require leaked documents, didn't require anything the officials could hide behind. He was going to use their own numbers against them. The setup was this. The United States government was, at that moment, grinding toward a legislative halt over the SAVE Act, a bill designed to make illegal non-citizen voting in U.S. elections, which is already illegal. The Senate was preparing to spend 2 weeks debating it, and the president had signaled he would sign no other legislation until it passed. The framing from the administration was clear. Foreign nationals voting in American elections represented an existential threat to American democracy. Himes wanted to know what the actual numbers looked like, so he asked Patel directly, "How many non-citizens have been convicted of voting in U.S. elections in the last 10 years?" Patel's answer was that conviction statistics are held by the Department of Justice. He defers to them on that. Himes pushed.
You are the director of the FBI. Give me a guess. How many convictions in the last 1 year, 5 year, or 10 years? Ballpark.
I don't have that with me, sir. Again, it's with the department.
You don't have.
Read that again. The director of the FBI, the nation's top law enforcement officer, was asked to ballpark a number related to one of the administration's central legislative priorities. A number that, if the threat were as serious as the administration claimed, would presumably be well known inside the Bureau, and he said he didn't have it with him. Himes moved to the next question. How many active FBI investigations currently exist into foreign individuals voting in U.S. elections? Patel said there are a number of investigations, generally speaking, ongoing, about individuals across the country. Himes said he was asking for that number specifically. Patel said he didn't have that number with him either, but that he had a number of them. So Himes asked the logical follow-up.
Is that number 10,000? Is it closer to 10,000 or closer to 10?
It's probably somewhere in between.
Okay.
Somewhere in between 10 and 10,000. That is the answer the director of the FBI gave to the United States Congress about one of the administration's top legislative priorities. Not a range, not an estimate, somewhere in between. Himes asked Patel to provide the committee with that number. Patel said yes. Then Himes introduced the document that changed the entire tone of the room. The Heritage Foundation, not a liberal institution, not a university faculty lounge, Himes was careful to note that, had conducted a study covering 24 years of non-citizen voting data between 1999 and 2023. The number they found, 77 instances, across 24 years, each of which had faced investigation by the appropriate authorities, 77 cases in a quarter century.
So Heritage has a number of 77 examples in 24 years. Does that number surprise you?
No, because it's low.
I don't understand your answer.
You asked me if I was
Are you
surprised by that
disputing,
number.
are you
I'm not.
disputing that the number is in the range of 77 examples of non-U.S. citizens voting in U.S. elections in a 24-year period?
I just said that number's low.
You think that number is low? Okay.
Patel had no follow-up, no counter data, no alternative figure, just the assertion that the number is low with nothing behind it. And this is the specific corner Himes had built for the entire hearing. The administration was preparing to halt the legislative process of the United States government over a threat that its own intelligence agencies had not included in the annual worldwide threat assessment. The classified version and the unclassified version. Neither one contained any reference to the risk of non-citizens voting in American elections. The director of the FBI didn't know how many people had been convicted of the crime the administration was calling an existential threat. He couldn't estimate how many active investigations existed. And when presented with the only available public data, 77 cases in 24 years, his response was that the number is low without providing any evidence that the actual number is higher. But Himes wasn't finished. He turned to Director Gabbard. If this is a meaningful issue, why is there no mention of it in the worldwide threats analysis? Gabbard's answer was that the annual threat assessment is shaped around national security strategy priorities, and that there are multiple platforms and venues where foreign election threats will be reported separately. Which is not an answer to the question. The question was why an issue significant enough to shut down the American government wasn't significant enough to appear in the document designed to tell Congress what threatens America. Gabbard didn't have an answer for that either. And underneath all of this was a second thread Himes had been pulling throughout the hearing. Director Gabbard had personally participated in an FBI warrant execution at the Fulton County, Georgia election office. The warrant, when unsealed, made zero reference to foreign interference. Himes had asked directly, as a result of that visit, is there credible intelligence in your possession pointing to foreign interference in Georgia in the 2020 election?
Is there intelligence in your possession relative to foreign interference in the 2020 elections? Very simple, straightforward question.
We are continuing to look at previous attempts to interfere in our elections and any ongoing threats that may exist for the upcoming election.
That answer is not yes, and it is not no. It is a redirect to a different question entirely. The pattern across this entire hearing was the same every single time. Questions requiring specific numbers received non-answers. Questions about specific intelligence received redirects. Questions about specific decisions received procedural explanations. And the one concrete data point introduced, 77 cases, was dismissed as low by the director of the FBI, with no evidence offered for what he believed the real number to be. The hearing closed without that number. It closed without an explanation for why the worldwide threat assessment contains no reference to non-citizen voting. It closed without clarity on what Gabbard found, or didn't find, in Georgia. And it closed with Patel having told Congress that the scale of the problem the administration was shutting down government over was, ballpark, somewhere between 10 and 10,000. That is the record this hearing produced, and when the Senate finishes its 2 weeks on the SAVE Act, a law making illegal something that is already illegal, that record will still be there. 77 cases, 24 years, and a director who thought that number was low.